To this 30-minute yin style practice. If you're not familiar with yin, it's a very quiet practice. We hold poses for longer than you would do in a normal dynamic yoga practice. And this isn't like a classic yin if you do know what yin is, but it's just more of that style. We're just going to take time in poses, all floor-based, bringing us into stillness. We are heading into the stillness of the winter solstice and recording this in December. And it's to support us to move into that place, that quiet place, because life can take us out of that quiet place all the time, and especially as we journey towards Christmas, which isn't very quiet. But you can also use this practice anytime you like, anytime that you feel you just need to come into your center, just to have time out from a busy day. And 30 minutes isn't so long, hopefully. So we'll start off lying down. Lying down on your back, coming into semi-supine, so the feet are wider than the pelvis, the inner thighs are resting in. If you want to, you can have the palms of your hands facing down, or if you prefer, you can rest them on your belly or on your pelvis, anywhere where it feels comfortable and it feels right for you. Closing the eyes and just starting to observe the breath. Allowing an exhale to soften the shoulders towards the earth. Allowing the exhale to soften tension out of the face, especially around the eyes, the lips, the low jaw. So we're not trying to make this happen, trying is doing. So we're just being present with the breath and just allowing the breath to start to soften the body. An awareness of the earth underneath us, feeling the whole of the back of the body, relaxing into that support of the earth. Giving yourself this time to be really nourished, to be nourished by the breath, to be very much nourished by the need for stillness in our life. It's about balance, it's never one or the other, but we have way too much activity, distraction, and that can sometimes lead to overwhelm. We feel stressed, so much to do. So we need the balance of stillness, of relaxation, and it's so nourishing to give us this time. You may find that your mind is very active, you're just wandering off thinking about stuff. So as best you can, just keep coming back to focus on the breath. It takes practice for all of us, and this is the gift of getting on the mat, is we have this time to practice. Not just being physically still, but also being mentally still. And that will help us to feel emotionally still as well, so we'll feel a little bit calmer. And then from here, just releasing the knees out so they're hip width apart, hugging the right knee in towards the chest. I haven't suggested to use props because not everyone has them, but if you do have a strap or you just want to use a tea towel or something over the front of the right shin, you can do. Make sure the shoulders are soft, and then it's up to you. Let your body let you know whether you'd like to extend the left leg forward. And again, just focusing on the breath. Every pose that we move into during this practice shouldn't be, there shouldn't be a lot of effort involved. So it's a kind of a crossbreed of a yin, a restorative, just a gentle, nourishing practice. Time out from very active, busy days. Practicing to not always be so identified with the mind. And observing and knowing and witnessing that there is a deeper, quieter, more introspective space that is available to us to live our life from. That place of feeling, of intuition, of knowing, rather than thinking, planning, organising, worrying, stressing. You know, the usual, right? If your left leg was extended, just bring the sole of the left foot on the floor, moving into reclined pigeon, right ankle over left knee. You may want to stay here with your left foot on the floor. If you're familiar with this pose and your body is comfortable, you can take your hands around the back of your left thigh or the front of your left shin. Again, it's not about effort. It's not about getting into what your mind has decided is the deepest variation of the pose. And therefore I'm trying harder, so I'm good, I tick a box. This is all the programming, like the conditioning of the mind that we need to be aware of. You know, we need to be able to observe. So we can choose as to whether we want to engage in those patterns, those beliefs. And a lot of them are distorted. So this ability to move into a more introspective internal space helps us to create the space to be able to witness the mind. And that's what yoga is about. Being able to watch the fluctuations of the mind. It's not about being flexible. It's not about forcing your body into a posture because you think that's what you're supposed to do, even though your body is like just saying no on so many levels. Because we override the voice of the body a lot with the really demanding, shouty, a lot of the times aggressive voice of the mind. So checking in with the quality of your breath, and that will always let you know as whether you're in the right variation of the posture or not. If you're trying, if you're fidgeting, if you can't wait to get out of the posture, then you're in the wrong variation. That's it. You know, it's not a big deal. You just change it or come out of it even if it's not working for your body today. Gently release. Just take a moment here with the feet on the floor, hands wherever they feel comfortable before we move into the other side. Other side. Hugging your left knee in. Again, if you have a strap or tea towels are great. You know, they're good in yoga. You can put it over the front of your left shin, and then it's up to you whether you want to keep your right foot on the floor or extend the right leg forward. Listening to your body requires practice because most of us don't do it. We're used to thinking how we feel. We're used to placing our expectations on the body. So using this time as well to let the body know that you're creating space so that it can communicate with you and that you're willing to listen to it. I'm pretty sure it's an age thing as well. You know, the older we get, the more we have to listen to the body. When I was younger, you know, it's just a machine that would do everything that I wanted it to do, or that was my opinion, just ignoring aches and pains and niggles and injuries. And, you know, the joy of youth is you could get away with it quite a lot, or I could anyway, which kind of was a good thing, but it was also not such a good thing because it took me a long time to really listen to the voice of my body. And when I did, it was like, oh, thank you. Thank you after all these years. You're finally listening to me. And it's the journey, it's the journey of life, of becoming more sensitive to the needs of the body. But it takes practice. It really does, because we're so conditioned to being up in the mind. We're addicted to thinking, doing, just in this constant, almost knee-jerk reaction response to thoughts that pop in and pop out of the mind. They're not ours, they don't belong to us, most of them aren't real, as in, it's not the truth of the situation, whatever that may be. So we just choose to place our awareness somewhere else, that internal space that the breath always guides us into. If your right leg is extended, just bring the sole of the foot back on the floor, left ankle over right knee, recline pigeon, whatever variation is working for you on this side of the body. Right foot on the floor. Again, if you want to, you can take the back of your the back of the thigh or the front of the shin. But again, if this starts to feel active and dynamic and you're just getting into a fight with yourself, or the quality of the breath has gone, they're all indicators you're just in the wrong variation today. The body is constantly changing. Every time we breathe in and we breathe out, there's a movement of energy. In winter, we get more tight, we're more contracted. There is less energy. Days are shorter. So really, again, respecting the seasons, because they have a huge impact on our body, because we are a part of nature. I know we may not feel like it sometimes, or a lot of the time, but this body is a small little world. It's a little planet Earth. We are the same ratio of water to solid mass that the Earth is. The waters in our body are salt water, the sea, our cerebrospinal fluid, the tears that we cry. Just a reminder of our deep relationship to the earth. And our bodies reflect that if we listen to them as we move through the seasons. Our spring-summer yoga body isn't an autumn-winter yoga body, and that's as it should be. So never force or push your body into what you think it should be doing, when maybe your reference was like a hot summer's day and you had just had tons of energy and you had an amazing practice, and then wondering why now you feel like 50 years older. It's just the rhythm. It's the rhythm of life. It's the rhythm of the year. It's the rhythm of the seasons. Releasing out, feet back on the floor. We'll move into a supine twist. If your body likes you to do this, take your pelvis over to the right first before releasing the knees to the left. If you release your knees to the left and your right shoulder moves away from the floor, you need to put something underneath your knees, so a pillow or cushions, blankets. Again, I'm not using props because not everyone has them, but I'm sure everyone has a pillow or a cushion, maybe a blanket as well. So if you need to, just pop them underneath your knees. Take your left hand and just rest it on the right side of your rib cage. We're going to use that hand as a reference to breathe into. So it's not forceful, it's not aggressive, we're just inviting the breath to connect into the hand. As we invite more space into the rib cage, allowing more space for the lung to work, the right lung. None of us use our full lung capacity, even in yoga. It's a real dedicated practice. Maybe free divers, but they've had years and years of training. Obviously some very deep yogis working with pranayama. But most of us, not using the full capacity of our lungs. When we do use more capacity, we feel better. You know, we're receiving more oxygen, we're releasing more carbon dioxide. The heart gets massaged more, gets massaged every time we breathe. And just check in, use an exhale, softening any tension around the eyes, the lips, the low jaw. Releasing the left hand, just gently supporting your knees up with your feet. Bringing the pelvis back in line with the shoulders if you took it over. And again, we'll just take a couple of breaths here. Keep focusing on the breath. Not life, which is standing just off the mat, wanting to engage you in it all the time. And it's not like a sort of a resistance to life. We're just choosing to place our awareness somewhere else, just for this practice, to bring us a little bit more into balance. Other side, if it's working for you, pelvis over to the left, release the knees to the right, just make sure your right shoulder is grounded, and if it isn't, something underneath your knees, okay, and that will lift your knees up, which will let your shoulder relax, okay. Right hand on the left side of the ribs, as we start to breathe into that hand, just using it as a reference. It's the biggest self-care practice we can do, is breathing in a functional way. Because we all breathe in a dysfunctional way. Many, many reasons. A lot of it is to do with our static lifestyle, the stress. If you're a woman and you have boobs and have been wearing a bra for a long, long time, you know, boobs that require a bra, then that also brings in a lot of contraction around the rib cage, because we've been held in place by this bra. You know, they are amazing bras, but they also aren't very good for functional breathing. We use the diaphragm in a dysfunctional way because most of us are quite weak in our deeper core muscles. We've started to use the diaphragm as a core muscle, so that leads to a lot of overuse of a certain part of the diaphragm and underuse of the other parts. I mean, it's one big dome of muscle, but we tend to overuse the front part of that muscle. So it's the best self-care that we can do, is just inviting the body, giving it the opportunity to breathe in a more functional way. Just something as simple as this, just resting your hand on your rib cage and breathing into it, can really make a huge difference. Releasing the right hand, just support your knees up, so make sure your feet are grounded as soon as they can. And then move your pelvis over, back in alignment with the shoulders. And again, a breath or two here. And then hugging the knees up towards the chest, but make sure the sacrum, so the triangular bone at the base of the spine, is grounded. Again, if you've got a strap or you're working with something here, you can put it over the front of your shins. Or if you don't want to use your hands, you can just release them and just have your knees up. Just an awareness of the physical connection of the sacrum into the earth, and just breathing down into that relationship of that bone connecting into the earth. It's our point of balance, it's our centre of gravity. The sacrum, it's sacred. It's a sacred bone, it's a very sacred area of our energy system, a very powerful part of our energy system that reflects around the physical sacral bone. So breathing down into it can help us feel grounded, it can bring us back into our balance, our center. It can help us feel supported. And then from here, just release the feet down, bring yourself over onto one side, and we're going to stay here in fetus pose for a few breaths. So I like to support my head with my bottom arm. And just taking some breaths here, closing the eyes. We live in this weird culture where doing nothing is seen as something negative or lazy. Doing nothing is necessary for all the doing that we do. That's another big program, a big condition that we've all been brought up in, that you have to be really busy, and the busier you are, then the better you are, and ticks loads of boxes. But underneath all that is exhaustion a lot of the time. So a few more breaths here, just enjoying doing nothing. And then bringing yourself up. Coming into a very open diamond shape with the legs. And from here we're going to move into a forward fold as much as your body will want to go, okay? So it's all very dependent on structure of your pelvis. All yoga poses are determined mainly by the structure of our body. This has got nothing to do with being flexible. It's got everything to do with the shape of the heads of your bones. So like the flexibility in your pelvis is mainly to do with the shape of the head of your femur, which is this bone, how it sits in your pelvic socket, and also the kind of the depth of your pelvic socket. Some people have really shallow ones, some people have really deep ones. Then the femur head that sits in it, this has got everything to do with what your body does in hip openers, in forward folds a lot of the time. It's got nothing to do with flexibility, okay? So it's good to remember that it's structural, and you can do all the breathing and all the yoga in the world and you're never going to change the shape of your bones, all right? So it's a good lesson in acceptance, rather than like the amount of times I've heard over the years, I'm not very flexible, I'm not good at yoga. It's rubbish. It's absolute rubbish. It's got nothing to do with being flexible. Not in the body, it's got everything to do with bringing flexibility into the mind. So moving into a forward fold with that in mind, all right, just, for your body, and maybe again, you'd like some support here. If you have a chair or a stool, you could bring it in and support your head and your hands on the chair or the stool. And if a forward fold is just not for you today or ever because of the structure of your body, or if you've had injuries or surgery, then you just stay in an upright position. It's really not to do about the pose. It's to do with the breath, the awareness of the breath, and your ability to practice staying focused on the breath, okay? It's much easier to just keep focusing on the physical, the external, because that's what we do all the time. We live an externally focused life. We're looking out. We're getting distracted. So the work, the challenge is to come into that internal space where the breath always guides us in, and just let go of the external. And in this case, it's what we perhaps perceive the body should be doing, or expect the body or want the body to be doing. And you may find, and I say this because this relates to me, that perhaps, you know, you need to come out of that forward fold, or you need to back off. So I can, you know, go into it for a few breaths, and then, because I've learnt to listen to my body the hard way, it has to be said, by not listening to it for a long time, I know now that I need to back off a little bit, otherwise I overstretch. So maybe that relates to you as well, okay? So just tuning into the body through the breath. It shouldn't feel like an effort. Shouldn't feel like you're in a bit of a fight with your body to hold it in a posture, okay? It should feel okay in that you can focus on the breath. So I've just moved up to a neutral position with the spine because my back's had enough, okay? But if you're okay with it, just keep staying in the forward fold. Choosing to focus on the breath. If you have been in the forward fold, just gently bring yourself up. And then once you are up, just hug your knees in towards the chest for a cosmic hug. If this isn't appropriate for your body, you can take a wider hug, taking the feet out wide and just resting the torso in between the legs. But I really enjoy a hug, but you've got to hug like you mean it, all right? So we're not just putting the body in this position, giving yourself a hug with the same commitment and love as if you're hugging someone very, very dear to you. Because that's how we need to really connect into our body. You know, it's an old friend who's just been tirelessly supporting us throughout our life. And so really giving some love back with this hug, you know, just thank you. Thank you for all that you've done for me, the support that you've given me. I'm sorry I didn't listen to you when the niggles and the injuries came. And I'm sorry if I really judged you, if there was an accident or surgery or something had to happen. And maybe you're here already, or perhaps this is your journey, but one day, eventually, you know, I love you, I really love you, thank you. Releasing the hug, coming to sit in a cross-legged position. A few breaths just to end our practice. Observing now, perhaps there's a little bit more inner stillness. Perhaps things are just a little quieter, feeling more balanced, grounded. And then gently opening up the eyes. Thank you so much for watching this video, for choosing to practice with me. I hope it was supportive. If you have any questions, if there's something that you would like on a video, then just get in touch and I can do that for you. It's not a problem. So take care. Bye for now.